God bless America continuously, and God have his hand in it. But I do remember when a lot of parents were sharing these horror stories online. I mean, we still see it. We're still sharing. Um, there was a chance where me and my husband were able to utilize a little bit of school choice in California. We all know that's under attack. Homeschool's under attack because people are mass exiting out of the system and they want to trap kids back into the broken system. But with that said, we took our kids out, put them in a charter, morning traffic, maybe 45 minutes to an hour for me to get there and back. I had a small business. I had a fitness business during that time. I would wake up at 3 a.m., set up and sublease out of a batting cage, train a bunch of moms and grandmas, and then be at home by 7:30 so I could be a full-time mom. I always wanted to be a full-time mom. I was room mom, art mom, PE mom when my kids were in school. I was everything in the classroom that, the teacher needed kind of a mom until Newsom shut us out. But I put my kids in a facility that was defying Newsom's order, and I was appreciative, but it also made me feel really sad because, I go back to my childhood. I ended up in foster care for a little bit until my dad took us all under his wing, and then it led to my mom's death, and eventually, my dad says he raised us kids, but I still argue with him, we're raising you, Dad, you're in my household, I'm taking care of you, but we have this friendly joke going on. But again, with taking my kids out, still listening to the horror stories, someone like me knowing that all parents didn't have that opportunity and they couldn't do that because you had two working parents or parents that just, may have, these kids are coming from broken homes. I couldn't sit back and just do nothing. I had to do something. And then eventually that led to another mom sharing, we need to go to the school board meeting. And I'm like, what is a school board meeting? I went to PTO meetings. I went to all these other meetings on campus, but never a school board meeting. And then I found out very quickly, I do think that Christians have a moral obligation to get involved in politics. I wasn't fulfilling my obligation. But then again, once you become aware of things, then you are held accountable. And at that point, when I found out we were supposed to be electing these people make the most important decisions about our most important gift for God, I was like, okay, let's go to this school board meeting you're talking about. And it was very quickly exposed to us by the Lord that these people had no good intent. The majority, just like the majority in California school board members still till this day, 6 years later, are serving somebody other than our children. They're serving an agenda, and we all know, it's the root of evil, it's driven by evil. And there was 3 members out of 5 that were completely on the opposite side of us parents, that didn't think that we had a constitutional right and were trying to exit us out of our children's lives. So eventually it led to us realizing we have to get involved in politics. We got to run for these elections. Our central committee, I always say, central committees, I get it. We all have brokenness. It's a family. We can all acknowledge that, but let's be part of the solution, because at that moment, our central committee heard about us crazy parents, invited us in to speak, and we were excited because every door was being closed in our face. Our school board said, contact your legislators. Guess what? Our legislators were probably like yours, the majority that were just slamming doors in our face, right? That were on the opposite side. I quickly learned, the difference between the two parties, and I chose a side. Obviously, I'm here today, so you know what side I chose, the one that has my moral convictions and biblical principles, and we have to keep it that way, right? So that's why you guys are here, and I thank you for all the hard work that you do. But eventually, our central committee gave us that opportunity, and I became the alternate. And from that point, we learned how to read the maps, and we learned a little bit about the elections. And 2 seats were coming up in our district that a map was just voted on, because they were manipulating maps even back then. They just do this, and prophecy is another example. Recent times of manipulation of the maps for control. And then eventually I went back to our mom group. I was the president of grassroots parent groups. Grassroots parent groups are very, very important. Support them, get them going, because even when we get a board majority, we still need our parents, because we're fighting the union, right? You would think that with the 5-0 now, we would be in La La Land and, excited. No, these people are very aggressive, and they become very aggressive, so we need the community support to do the right thing. Well, with that said, I do believe in, don't take this the wrong way, but friendly bullying when it comes to protecting our kids, and I'll explain why. We had found out one student we were excited, met him at Luna Grill, and his interest became very clear that it wasn't going to be interest. We were going to support him. One of our moms became his campaign manager. We didn't know anything about campaigns, but we knew, hey, we have purpose. And then we had one more seat. So I went back to the Central Committee. I had told them, hey, I have one candidate you can support, and I was given another dose of reality. They told me it didn't work that way. You better get two and pray to God to get one in, because they're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to, keep these seats. And so I went back to my mom group and did the friendly bullying. I took one of our moms that learned the maps that was just voted in, said, Kelly, get out the maps. One of you lives in the area, and one of you is going to run. I mean, kind of see where the story's going. Last person to read out their address on the map that was just voted in. My house, my backyard, literally, I live in the reach out, high-five your neighbor's houses, very, very, very close together. It's facing and on the line that was just voted in. So in God's perfect timing, I bullied myself and revealed that I was the candidate that was going to run in the other area. Local elections. You guys, I don't have to preach to you about how to win local elections. It is literally getting out there and being relentless in your knocking, walking, and sharing your story. If you do not do that, we lose over and over. And I keep telling our party, and I hope it's like finally starting to pick up, these nonpartisan seats are very partisan. And we have to focus not only as parents and community members, but if we're involved in any, like the Republican Assembly, we have to focus on these nonpartisan seats. They always blame that us people getting involved have a playbook. I just say take the playbook that was working, which is obviously the Democrats playbook. Do it with moral conviction, do it for the right reasons, and do it better than them. They have the winning ticket. Let's just figure it out and take it and do it. Knocking and walking is important. They pay their walkers because they have a lot of money. And guess who knocks for the people on the moral, righteous side? Us. So we had grandmas, grandpas, teachers, because the union, they found out really quick, these teachers, during the COVID shutdown, that the union wanted nothing to do with protecting them for the right reasons. So we had good teachers. We had, college students, you name it. Anybody with common sense was our walking team. We brought them in. I had a great gospel teacher that put them together, told them where they were going to be. And we walked 2 to 6 hours a day for 6 months. I say 6 hours because I was walking 6 hours, and my volunteer, the teacher, she would tell me, you have any option between 2 to 6 hours and no other option. So we were walking 2 to 6 hours, and that year, despite $150,000 in my own seat to run against me, they placed. That's without tax and union money, because that's all secretly put in. That's normal. People would not generally know how to, you guys would, but like the normal moms and dads wouldn't know how to look up tax money, right? So even with that said, and the person actually moved to run against me because the state superintendent got wind, he came down, called it the most important school board seat, and walked with my opponent the only time that she didn't have paid walkers for media. That year, we won both seats. God had a plan. We definitely had a plan. It's not, out of the norm to win seats, but we definitely switched our majority that year, and we got to work really quick. You guys probably are aware of Assemblyman Delaselli, who's now appointed by Trump an LA attorney. He was a newly, elected assembly member, and a bunch of us moms used to travel to Sacramento, we still do, to oppose, I would say oppose because we don't support any of those bills, but oppose those bills, and that's kind of where we heard about Delaselli too. And he brought a bill, I would say Bill brought the bill, that sent a message across the nation, not just California. It was a really simple bill. It literally said that if a child were to identify as the opposite sex, do not use the word gender. I don't need to tell you guys this, but gender is their religious term. We don't believe in their religion. We don't need to be programmed. We have to deprogram ourselves. I get it. It's in every document, every portal. Let's start using sex. God created male and female, and that's it, right? Gender is just some ideology that we don't need to get caught up in. So Bill's bill said if a kid identifies as the opposite sex, we're going to say that, parents would be notified. That's it. Didn't say that they couldn't go into the opposite sex restroom, because that's California law. It didn't say that, you can't XYZ, because they put on all this stuff that says you have to affirm them, even though I believe that's violation of people's First Amendment rights. Vice versa, it didn't say anything other than parents need to be notified. Remember, parents have not only their God-given rights, right, but they have a constitutional right as well that's in our Constitution. We need to stand for those constitutional rights. Because once we give that up, you all heard, from previous leader, Reagan, that our president, you're one generation from eliminating, because of the Constitution. If not fighting the Constitution, we need to do that. But long story short, Bill brought that bill. I was newly elected, newly appointed as voted in as the president, or appointed as the president of our board. And I was like, we're going to support this. I brought it forward as a resolution. Now I'm in San Bernardino County, Bill's in Riverside County. And next thing you know it, Bill is showing up to our school board meeting, standing at the podium with his 1 to 3 minutes, depending on how many speakers I can remember back then. And he was thanking us for bringing this forward to support his bill, because me as a mother, I wanted our school board to oppose the tampons in the boys' restrooms, all the bills that said they were going to eliminate Title IX, and all these crazy things. I used to beg our school board to be the voice of us. Like, we would do it. We'll travel to Sacramento, but it also sounds better if our school board and our city and our elected leaders are behind us, right? So when Bill did that, I was like, okay, we're going to support it. He shows up at our meeting. He tells us we have we were gonna like do something crazy. Like, I feel these crazy things like this really caused all this craziness, but God has a way of, really but eventually that came to me telling the superintendent, like, you're putting these cases to really expensive dollars by attorneys. They're all saying how and why I was the law. Nobody cites the law. And guidance is not law.